Shabbat Shalom. So next Saturday night is the first Seder. I was at Giant at the grocery store, and they had mounds and mounds of matzah next to the Hamantaschen, next to the s'mores. And I felt like they were just mocking me because you can't have s'mores on Pesach. But though I've never tried a matzah s'more, I don't know if I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to pass. And the chocolate and the marshmallow. So we have been planning the logistics of fitting friends and family around the tables. We have the first draft of a menu. It's been made, and I will be at Costco and other places on Monday doing the first official of what will be many runs to the grocery store this week. And let me add, you can still register for the communal Seder for the second night here at Bethel, that you have until Tuesday to sign up. So call the office, register online. The Chazan and his family will be leading the second Seder. That's on Sunday night. But while today is not technically Shabbat Hagadol, the Shabbat before Passover, in which it was the custom for the rabbi to offer an in-depth and lengthy talk about the meticulous details of Passover observance, which I will not be doing, Shabbat Hagadol is actually next week, but the calendar this year causes some interesting adjustments that I want to talk about. Because Passover begins Saturday night, if you are going to do anything different around your Seder, one cannot wait till Shabbat Hagadol, next Shabbat, to be thinking about it and talking about it. So let's unpack Passover a little bit. I want to explore how it is different this year, both according to rituals, but also how it is different this year emotionally, at least for me. So first, the practical. With Passover beginning Saturday night, it shifts some things around. We go directly from the sanctity of Shabbat into the holiday. So traditionally, we would not be cooking on Shabbat, preparing for the holiday on Shabbat, on Saturday. So everything would need to be completed on Friday. So when do the rituals of searching for and cleaning our house of bread and chametz happen? The Birkat Chametz is usually the night before Passover, and in the morning of Passover, we burn the chametz. But it's Shabbat, so you can't burn the bread on Saturday morning. We can't do that, and so it adjusts. So this Thursday night, upcoming Thursday night, is when we search and clean and clear our homes of chametz, the foods not allowed on Passover. It is the night before, the previous night before Passover, because it is Shabbat. It is a night earlier than you would expect. And that means that bior chametz, the searching and the burning, happens on Friday morning. Okay, that may seem a little esoteric for those not accustomed to these rituals of Passover. After all, using a candle and a feather and a wooden spoon to clean seems somehow both very impractical and odd. I agree that a vacuum cleaner is more than efficient to get the job done. So now that our house is cleaned of chametz on Friday, what do we use or say for motzi on Friday night? Because it is not yet Passover, so maybe we could have bread, challah, but we definitely can't have challah on Saturday night. So if we cannot have challah because we've just cleaned, what do we put under the challah cover for Friday night? Let me complicate it a bit further. You're not supposed to eat matzah because you may just say, well, just eat matzah a day early. You're not supposed to eat matzah until the Seder, so that the rabbis say, so you have a great desire for it. Notice you only have a great desire for day one, maybe. I guess they knew that if you ate it too soon, it really would taste like the bread of affliction. and you would not be excited for the Seder. So what are options, you think? What are some ideas? Ta-da! Egg matzah. So that some say that making motzi, some say make motzi and eat the challah outside, okay, so that you don't get all the crumbs. Others say eat challah very carefully and clean it up. But I like the egg matzah. And what a bargain it is, because this was only $6, and it was next to the gluten-free matzah that was $10. So sometimes it is just relative to each other. So you're not actually eating. Egg matzah is not considered matzah, and also it's not considered chametz. But the last esoteric ritual adjustment that I will mention, so on Friday night, it should be egg matzah. But the last esoteric ritual adjustment that I'll mention is another custom which changes days, and that is ta'anit bechorot. It is the fast of the firstborn. I want to explain the adjustment, but then transition into talking about how this Seder is different emotionally, sort of a ma nishtana pivot. Take a moment to think about the horror of the 10th plague. This was the plague of the death of the Egyptians' firstborn. It is the plague that set the Israelites free. But it was not without deep moral and ethical challenges which we pose to God. God, if you are omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, in other words, all-powerful, all-knowing, and everywhere, you didn't have to kill the Egyptian children to bring about the freedom of the ancient Israelites. This is such a clear moral problem that Judaism instituted the fast of the firstborn, ta'anit bechorot. And this lasts up till today. Firstborn children, traditionally it was just males, but interesting, I found a comment in the Shulchan Aruch, the Jewish code book from 1550, that says daughters should fast as well. That we do the mournful act of fasting in honor of the Egyptians of the 10th plague. Embedded in Judaism is a recognition of the costs paid for our freedom. Even as it was the Egyptians who enslaved us, we mourn their deaths as well. On the ritual side, this is shifted to Thursday because we cannot fast on Shabbat, and we cannot fast going into Shabbat. So Ta'anit Bechorot and the Siyum are observed Thursday morning of this week, another ritual shift. There are ways that the fast is cut short through an act of study, but I don't want to distract from my main point. And now the second part of my reflection this morning. This Passover gathering is different, ma nishtana. Today is day 547 of the hostages being held. 59 hostages are still being held. It is day 547 of the war which has ravaged Gaza. It has traumatized people, Israelis and Palestinians, and it is continuing. The ethical dilemmas of war are deep and real. And just as we recognize the deaths of the Egyptians through Ta'anit Bechorot, the fast of the firstborn, I object to those who today think it lessens us, it diminishes us if we recognize the deaths of Palestinians during the war Hamas began. It does not lessen us. My heart breaks at the level of destruction this war has caused. My heart breaks that Hamas designed its war plan, forcing Israel to do this. And to be clear, this was Hamas' ultimate plan of October 7th, I believe. It wanted to bait Israel, force Israel into responding, and everything that has followed is in accord to some type of twisted script. The tunnels were built under neighborhoods and schools used for launch pads and hospitals as headquarters. There is no honor in war. Sometimes it is just necessary. Sun Tzu writes in The Art of War, "The greatest victory is that which requires no battle." That is true in many ways, and peace will not come through battles. But until security is achieved for Israelis and Palestinians, I'm afraid battles will continue without victory. And until both extremes recognize the other, the extreme Palestinian and the extreme Israeli, we will have more fasts to do. In the Haggadah, we read and some sing, V'hi sha'amda lavotenu. And it is this, the Torah, that has stood by our ancestors and for us, for not only one enemy has risen up against to destroy us, but in every generation they rise up to destroy us. We have been saying and recognizing that for centuries. Some carry the historic narrative that this is just another battle against the Jewish people in a long history, centuries of Jews experiencing pogroms and massacres and forced conversions and expulsions and blood libels and hatred at Passover. In the past, Jewish communities were not able to defend themselves against the Cossacks or the Crusaders. Today, Israel can defend itself against this generation of enemies who arise, though. And with that brings a different moral responsibility. It is a point of pride and strength, and asks, at what cost are we willing to pay? Not the cost to our enemies, but to our own character. That is a question we must be ever vigilant about. Rabbi Jonathan Sacks writes in his commentary to the Haggadah about this verse, about a different verse, pour out your wrath upon the nations. It is a paragraph of the Haggadah calling for the end of the enemies of Israel in order that peace can prevail. Sacks writes, in one manuscript from Worms in 1521, there is a unique addition to the Haggadah alongside the verse, pour out your wrath. It is a prayer of thanks for the righteous Gentiles throughout history who, rather than persecuting Jews, befriended them and protected them in times of danger. This is what Sacks has found in this Haggadah. Pour out your love on the nations who have known you, and on the kingdom who call upon your name. For they show loving kindness to the seed of Jacob, and they defend your people Israel from those who would devour them alive. May they live to see the sukkah of peace spread over your chosen ones, and to participate in the joy of your nations. It's an inversion. Not asking for pouring out of God's wrath, but of pouring out of God's love for the support and the care of those that protected us. Next Saturday night, we will gather around the Seder table. We will celebrate our journey from slavery in Egypt to freedom to redemption. And we will feel that journey was not pain-free. It did not happen without our own trauma and impacting others too. So this year, I am feeling the fullness of the story, the fullness of the pain. An enemy does arise in each generation to destroy us, and I will not lose my own humanity in the process. My heart has enough space to recognize and ritualize the heartbreak we are living through. I pray the hostages will be home by Pesach. And if not, Sarah and I will have an empty seat at the table for them again. Shabbat Shalom. And Chag Kasher V'Sameach.